MMA hardcore boxing casual here. I'm curious to know what strengths Caleb Plant brings to the fight with Canelo. That's a very, you know what, BC? That's a perfectly good question that an MMA fan should ask. Yes.
Okay, at the very least, Caleb Plant brings the one skill that matches up the best with Canelo's deficiency. Now, the problem with saying Canelo has a deficiency is, one, he's the pound-for-pound king of the sport, the number one with a bullet, and two, because Canelo has moved up in weight so dramatically and yet kept his durability and speed and power, when you move up in weight, your speed gets more accentuated because you're going against bigger, in theory, slower guys. So what I mean by that was when Canelo, for a while, fought at 154, he was considered a technical counterpuncher, a big puncher, but he was considered to having had slow feet. And if you were a pure boxer, think Floyd Mayweather, think Erislandy Lara, who both had, considerable success against him, then you could do that. So Caleb Plant, at the very least, brings very good foot speed. He is a pure boxer, 100% pure boxer, and very quick hands. Throws very good combinations on the inside. Obviously, the problem with that and why he's such a big underdog, even though this is an important fight that we need to see, obviously, for the undisputed notion and all of that, is that Canelo, that speed deficiency is so less noticeable at this weight class at 168 pounds. And Canelo, to his credit, has worked on all of his weaknesses and rounded them out. But Caleb Plant doesn't have one-punch knockout ability, but he is so quick with those combinations that he can hurt you. When he won the championship against Jose Uzcategui in 2019, he knocked him down twice, and then he had to bite down in the final rounds, and they kind of went to war. So what does Caleb Plant have? Most importantly, boxing IQ and ability and speed. But let me add one more thing in there. This is the thing that could lead to him getting knocked out, by the way, right? But if you look at the history, Canelo tends to knock all these guys out. Caleb Plant has a go-get-it. He has a spirit of going after it. Now, you wouldn't necessarily know that by his last fight against Caleb Truax, the former champion, in which Caleb Plant won a wide, dominant decision. But Luke and I on the show, I think rightfully so, for a big Fox main event, we didn't love that Caleb Plant didn't leave a big statement. He didn't leave he won. There was no question about that, but he wasn't great that night. He was very good. He wasn't great. Caleb Plant has a go-get-it in him to go after it, meaning if there is an opening there to have to stand up and fight Canelo in key spots and go for it, he's going to go for it. Again, Luke, that could lead to his exit. But he has a fighting spirit. He's had a crazy life to get to this point. He came from nowhere. All that stuff. You've heard that story in boxing so many times. You can think he's a clown. You can say whatever. But Caleb Plant is coming to win this fight. And I'm sorry, you can't say that about every one of Canelo's big-name opponents. I mean, I thought Danny Jacobs had the body and skill set to beat him. And I think Danny Jacobs is going to think about that loss for years, where it was close, but he didn't do enough because he didn't go after it. I think Caleb Plant's going to go after it, whether that ends in him getting KO'd or not, Luke. So you bring that speed with a. I mean, Luke, what else do I need to say about Caleb Plant that you saw in that press conference? Okay, you thought Canelo won that press conference. That's fine. Caleb stood up to the number one guy in the sport and didn't back down. That's what he's bringing to this fight, Luke. That's the spirit I bring to this show. You might as well be Canelo and I'm Caleb Plant. Luke, I'm coming, bro. All right?
No, I'm definitely not. I'm more Andy Ruiz in this whole equation. I kid him. I'm mostly looking in the mirror with that. Yeah. Also, I mean, everything you said about Caleb Plant is true. A couple other things I would say. One, BC, you know this as well as I do, dude. If you're gonna be a weight class holder, and this is about unification, but it's true for MMA, it's true for boxing. If you're gonna be a weight class holder, you have a responsibility to defend it. And here is a case where, yes, this is a sort of a different scenario, but it applies sort of in principle, which is, maybe Caleb Plant doesn't wow people, or maybe you're skeptical of his chances, which I don't think is necessarily wrong. But this is the fight that has to make an order for this progression in this division to happen. So let's just see what happens with it. That was the first thing I'd say. The second thing I'd say is, you may have said it, but it just remind people one more time. He's got great feet. He has good feet, Caleb Plant. He's got good footwork. He gets into positions quickly. He gets out of them quickly. He sets himself in a very balanced way very quickly. Like, he just sort of finds where he needs to be very often with his feet. And he's not like super fleet of foot, but it's always on point. It's a really good talent of his.
Canelo has very good foot speed at this weight class, but Canelo's skill is planting himself and swiveling. He's so dynamic at avoiding shots and countering. If Caleb Plant can make it where Canelo's got to chase and Caleb is fast enough to land and get out of trouble, that's where we're going to have a fight, Luke. That's going to be the fight right there. But obviously that's asking a lot. Nobody counters more cleanly, effectively in terms of one punch to try to get you out of there, whether it's a hook to the body or a right cross over the top, than Canelo. That's why he's the best in the game.